Oh boy, we're live. We're live and my lens is dirty. And my dog's excited. No, I'm doing a live stream. No, you cannot go out. You just have to wait for me to do my live stream. That's the only thing that you can do. No, no barking. We're just gonna wait and see who shows up. It's gonna be like a mat. Wow, look at that. HD. Wiping the lens, waiting for people to. What's up, Kale? Gonna do a little live stream. Unplanned, totally off the cuff. Where's my flipping computer, man? Oh, here we go. Sorry, gang, I'm doing this by myself. I have no carafa, so you're gonna have to give me a second. We're going OG like this. O and G. I feel like this is like on my shoulder and not my face. Let me see. Welcome to the dining room. We got fun and games. Gonna talk to people now. Pretty sure they know my name. But if you don't know, I'm Bill. Welcome. Welcome to Bill Allan World. What the hell's wrong with my computer? Okay. Almost ready, everybody. Almost. Just have to get up on it. So that I can read everybody's questions and comments. Got to go to the live stream on the computer. All right, now I could see some people are here. Martin's here. Hey, Martin. Heat Champ, Owned Dwarf. Kale's here. Philip. Cindy's here. What's up, Cindy? Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm kind of waiting to catch up on the live stream, so you're going to have to give me a second here. But I'm going to do some unboxing. Oh, that's not bad. It doesn't look too bad. I look a little red because of the lighting. I've got a mix of lighting behind me and lighting in front of me. Kind of a terrible angle, frankly, but whatever. You guys can see and probably hear the fish tank of annoyance behind me. One of my kids' many things that they wanted, and then I said yes to. And guess who takes care of the fish most of the time? That's right, it's me. How will you survive with no carafa? You know, some people don't realize, but you know, carafa does have a life and a fiance and all that stuff. Thank you, Hydrolac. This is my my ode to Key and Peele. If you don't know, look up substitute teacher Key and Peele. Insubordinate and churlish. Anyway, what's up, Dr. Bells? Long time no see. Ah, this is cool. I really wasn't planning anything for today, guys, but I have to tell you, I took a road trip up to Michigan to pick up my son from his friends and then drop him off at camp. And along the way, I decided to have a little adventure. Bill went on a little adventure. So the adventure that I went on was while driving all the way up to nearly Traverse City in Michigan. Yes, Cindy, yes it is. I also, side note, just went to the pet store to get some small crickets for the fire-bellied toad and the bearded dragon So now, and the goldfish have been fed downstairs, so now all of the pets have been fed. Even Scooter has been fed, although he acts like I've never fed him before. So anyway, long story short, I just wanted to check in with everybody because it's been a minute since we've done Feedback Friday. And as you can see, I'm not in the studio because the studio's closed down. The main building where the studio is located at the high school is having a major construction project. They're redoing like all the electricity to the building. So it's going to be dark for like almost a month. So we are working on some alternatives to keep the channel going in July. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but we're going to bring back a couple games, some season 2 action, if you will. I'm not going to tell you which show is going to have a season 2, but it's one of the ones that has only had a season 1 so far. So stay tuned for that. And Croft and I are working on doing a live-streamed live game with people in person towards the end of the month. But I don't have details and dates locked in on that yet, so but stay tuned. As I was saying before, I went on a road trip to pick up my son from his friend's lake house way in the north of Michigan, and along the way I decided to stop at 2 game stores. And I think they were around Grand Rapids area. So if you're, let me see, I grabbed a business card. Oh, here's one. So one of them is called Out of the Box Games, Toys, and Puzzles. And this one was in Michigan. I don't remember where. Somewhere, I feel like it was somewhere close to Grand Rapids, if you know you're Michigan or you're from Michigan. Cool place, cool game store, lots of things, lots of inventory, and a lot of space for people to play in-person games, which was, I thought, really cool. And then the other place that I bought stuff, hold on one second. The other place that I bought stuff from was also in Michigan, called Blue Bridge Games in Grand Rapids. And they have a really nice store too. It's sort of like a little boutique. Sorry you guys had to catch so much of my ass and back fat on that, but that's what happens when I'm all alone. So let's see what we got here. I bought a mini. Can't really tell if that's a good shot or not, but this is one of the pre-painted Icons of the Realms premium miniatures. And this is a human rogue, and I really like this mini because I'll show you the back. There might not be as much glare because he's like the perfect sculpt for my character in my home game with my guys from college, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I love finding new game stores too, Owned Dwarf. That's, you know, I decided if I had to do this epic drive, I would make it kind of fun for me too. So Dad had some fun along the way. Yeah, so here's this guy right there. There he is. Don't know if it's in focus or not because the live stream is on a delay and I have no monitor, so I'm just looking at the front camera. Can't really see. Yeah, that's not bad. You guys can kind of see him. Just gonna hold that there. No, you can't eat this mini, Scooter. You can smell him though. Anyway, kind of a cool sculpt. I like that guy. I might do a little touch-up paint on him because right now that model has like blonde hair, and my guy in the game has brown hair. Then I bought Human Bard, which is a 2-pack. And again, this is like the Nolger's Marvelous Miniatures Human Bard, primed and paint ready out of the box. You're probably saying to yourself, but Bill, you have hundreds of minis that you haven't painted yet. Why would you buy more? Because I need more minis in my life. I mean, you know, people make that argument about dice. You can never have too many dice. I would disagree. I think people's dice collections can be excessive. Now, minis, however, you never know when you're going to be playing a game and one of your friends might need a mini. Interesting. So this guy is a bard. Doesn't look like it from the front very much because they're swinging a sword, but on the back they're wielding a dope mandolin, or maybe that's a lute. I don't really know. Man, you know what? My iPhone has some pretty damn good ability to autofocus on things. That doesn't look too bad, right? Can you guys see the details? I go to a good game store here in Idaho and has those types of minis for like $6.99, and some have two that are the same price. It's cool. Yes, I like the 2-for-1 deal. Let's take a look at the other version. Now this, I don't know if this is supposed to be the same guy because they don't really look the same. So I feel like I got two minis out of this. And definitely, by the time you paint them up, they're gonna look like two different minis, right? So this guy's actually jamming. Wielding the power of rock and bard magic. Yes, that's true, Heat Champ. You can use minis online if you dedicate a camera to it, like we do in the studio. Sometimes we can do that, and sometimes we can't. But that's those minis. So I got some minis, and you're like, but Bill, is that all? No. So Blue Bridge Games had these cool postcards. Check that out, y'all. It's a Cthulhu postcard. See? Postcard. But I was like, that's hella good. That's really, really cool, right? Let me get that in closer so you can, so it just fills the whole frame. Who did this art, Bill? The art is by Corinne Roberts. CORINNEROBERTS.com. Corinne Roberts. I saw this on the rack and I was like, that is so awesome. I'm getting this. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to use it as a postcard because it's too awesome. So instead, I think what I'll do is find a little frame for a postcard and frame it and put it up in the game room that I don't have because I have kids and I don't have my own dad space. So, wish Cthulhu were here. Yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, glue it to the back of the DM screen. Not a bad idea. Or I like that idea. Echo Thunderbolt, welcome here. I also like the idea of somehow integrating it into a screen. Like if I made a custom screen and that was like embedded in the custom screen. Ooh, that's a good idea. See, every once in a while the crafting bug starts to come back and I'm like, should I get back into crafting? I'm like, it'd really be cool. And then I'm like, with what time? How could I possibly do that? I don't know, we'll see. So wait, there's more. I'm working my way up. So the next thing I saw was Monster of the Week, Tome of Mysteries. Because I got the first book and I really am digging this game. And for those who don't know, I played in a 2-part one-shot on Juice's channel, on Master the Game with Juice. And so I got the first book. I like it. I'm trying to learn the game. It's an easy game to play, but if you have to run it, you kind of have to learn the rules. But then this is Tome of Mysteries. This is like the part 2 of this game. And it includes a whole bunch of new stuff, like new hunter playbooks, like character classes, basically, class options. And let's see, 8 new alternative weird moves, support for weird phenomena type mysteries like those found in Fringe or the X-Files, tips and techniques used by experienced keepers, and 29 fully detailed mysteries ready to drop into your game. That's pretty, I'm excited about that. Yeah, that it looks cool. Looks cool. I'm excited to read it. I like the design of the Monster of the Week game book itself. It's very usable. It's very easy to kind of flip through and find cool stuff. I don't read game books in a linear fashion from start to finish. I just go kind of flip around to the areas that I want to read. That's just how it works. Well, hey, Hexy Mother. So in an adjacent shelf of non-D&D things, near the Tome of Mysteries, oh, this fucking thing has plastic wrap on it. All right, hold on. Gotta get a key out. What do I think of Basic Fantasy RPG? Jim, I have heard a lot of good things about it, but I have not read it, nor have I played it. Would I love to? Absolutely. I'd love to try that game out. I've heard a lot of good things. I've also heard a lot of good things about Dungeon Crawl Classics, DCC. But again, haven't had a chance to try those out. Maybe someday I'll go to a convention and I won't be working at that convention and I'll actually be able to play games at that convention. But for right now, every convention I go to, I end up working. So here's what I got. You might have heard of it as Mork Borg or Mork Borg. Mork Borg. I call it Mork Borg because I'm in Chicago, so I don't care how it's actually pronounced. So this is like, if you don't know what Mork Borg is, it's a doom metal album of a game, a spiked flail to the face, rules light and heavy everything else. There's the front cover, there's the back cover, kind of shows you how metal this is. What I've heard about this game is that it is a rules light, dark fantasy, doom fantasy sort of game and setting with very much hardcore mode mechanics. Like, people have said that death is basically inevitable. So I'm looking at this book, right? And I look at the layout of it and the style, the art style, the font style. And immediately what I think of in this sort of like non-linear way that they have things set up and tables and art, it's very art heavy. It kind of reminds me of some of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess stuff, particularly the stuff made by super creator Zach Sabbath, aka Zach Smith, aka Zach S. He did not make this, but it has that vibe, which literally the reason why I got into Lamentations of the Flame Princess is because of Zach. I think he's a brilliant artist and writer and creator. And this book looks like it kind of has vibes that remind me of that. So I'm curious about how it will be, how easy it'll be to learn to play the game, but also how to run it. Like, will running the game be as easy as playing it? So I bought all these things, which then creates more stress because now I'm like, fuck, I have to learn Blades in the Dark, Monster of the Week, Mork Borg, Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I have all these games and I need to make time to play them or to run them. But I see all these like tables and stuff, and it very much has like an OSR kind of vibe to it. It doesn't look like this doesn't look that hard to learn, like initiative, melee, ranged, defense. And it has, very few kind of stats. So I think you make a character, you play the game, you adventure, and you probably die. But if you live, then you live. But it seems like you probably die in this game. Why would you want to play that game then, Bill? I don't know. I mean, this might just end up being an art book on my shelf. But I heard a lot of good things about it, so I will explore it. And maybe, who knows, maybe if I fall deeply in love with it, we'll do a show or a one-shot, or I'll just make some videos about this game. I like the comment on the back. Really not suitable for those under 16 years of age. One day all will blacken and burn, just as the two-headed basilisks have predicted. The world is dying, time is short. How will you face these last days, robbing graves for soil-stained wealth, or facing down the apocalypse, hoping it can be fought? So a apocalyptic fantasy game. Okay, So those were the bounties of my road trip to Michigan. And I bought all those from friendly local game stores. The 2 game stores in question were out of the box. I'll show this, and then if somebody ever cares to go to the middle of Michigan and visit a friendly local game store, you can just find out this information and screen cap it. Do I have a nice PC, Bill? Personally, no. I don't. But my school computer smokes because it's an editing computer. So that's a good question. Why do I use Apples? It's not because I'm an Apple guy, or originally I wasn't. The reason why I have Apples in my school media program is because if you go into film or television, or even like the sound side of things, typically most creative industry people, no matter what they're doing, they tend to work on Apple products. Like they tend to work on Macs, regardless of what software they're using. So I pushed for my program at the high school to have Macs because I wanted my students to use the same kind of tools and equipment that industry people use. That's the main reason. You know, I'm fully aware that you could probably build a kick-ass PC with Rockstar processor and RAM and video cards and all that stuff for half the price of a Mac or less than a Mac. But again, in my experience, every post-production house, every color correction, compositing, special effects company, all of them tend to work on Macs. So that's why I have Macs at the school. That's why we use Macs. Yeah. Hey, Bill. I recently bought some D&D stuff to get back into playing. YouTube suggested me your videos. If I only had a teacher like you back in high school. Ah, thank you, Vinicius. Thank you for that. I hope that you find my videos entertaining or helpful or informative. I do this because I believe, and the same reason why I do the D&D club at our high school. It's definitely not for the money because I put way more work into this than I am compensated for. I do it because I truly believe role-playing games are an amazing way to help people learn about themselves and the world around them and other people. Role-playing games have helped me in my life tremendously. So, yeah, that's awesome. It's never too late to learn how to play games, and there are so many. We are in a golden renaissance of gaming right now, my people. A golden renaissance of gaming. All right, there's another unboxing. I was going to do this as its own unboxing video, but I'm so excited that I have to do this unboxing right now. So a while back, I backed a Kickstarter of my buddies at Limitless Adventures, and I got my hardcover book, and it's dope, and I'm going to look at it right now with you. This is Limitless Adventures, Monsters, Volume 2. Limitless Monsters, Volume 2 includes over 100 new monsters, new spells and magic items, pre-rolled treasure to reduce DM prep time, 300 further adventure hooks to aid in writing follow-up quests, and also available as a full-color PDF. You can go to limitless-adventures.com to order your own copy of this and other 5e compatible works. Now, I say 5e compatible, but truly what I like about Limitless is any edition of any fantasy role-playing game, you could pick up their stuff and incorporate it. It's really well written. The quality of this is excellent. I love hardcovers. Sorry, Monster of the Week. Let me just go through a couple things here. I'm going to show you guys. So they have monsters, right? Alphabetically, monsters. So if you're like, oh man, my players in my D&D campaign know all the monsters that I threw out of them, and blah, blah, blah. This is your book. It's super affordable, and it has awesome stuff. Yes, that's right, Heat Champ. Might be some good stuff for Monster Monday. Ancient Black Dragon Dracolich, animated object, animated ballista. Oh, imagine an animated ballista. It's like that stupid game on my phone that sucks all my time. Animated graveyard. Ooh, I like that. Animated manacles, swift chest, badger hawk, attunement breaker, bounty hunter. Oh, that's kind of cool. So it's not just monsters, it's beasts, creatures, celestials, fae, chlorinous vapor. Ooh, wow, that is powerful. Clockwork servant. Clockwork copper dragon wormling. Clockwork spider. Ooh, a clutch. The inky black tentacle wrapped around your boot perfectly matches the murky water in the pool. Here's the cool picture that they have of the clutch. See, you're like walking through the sewers or walking through something else, and you see some movement in the water, and then before you know it, this tentacle whips out and grabs you and tries to pull you underwater. That's awesome. Hey, Heath Martin, my brother, what is up? I am just looking through this, if you're just joining us. Limitless Adventures put out this hardcover, volume 2 of Limitless Monsters. So, whole boatload of monsters. Now, what I have, if you haven't seen any of my reviews for their content before, one of the things I love about Limitless is it's not just a monster manual. What they provide is story hooks and adventure ideas, essentially like how to incorporate the monsters into your adventures. Does that sound familiar? Because that's kind of what I do with Monster Monday. Think about it. But I really like that they include that. Here's an interesting one. Ogre Noble. An Ogre Noble. So we all have ogres in our adventures, but how many times have you encountered an Ogre Noble? So they give you the stat block, they give you some lore, and the way that I'm going to show you this to you. The way that they do lore is really cool. Like they show you like DC, right? So if you want to make a lore check about ogres, you roll nature, and if you get a 15 or higher, you kind of get some of this info. If you get a 20, you get some of that info. That is awesome DMing. So it's not just success or fail. It's not just a binary sort of results of a skill check. There's degrees of success, which I think is cool. And I do that kind of naturally, but I think it's awesome that they include that in this. Then, further adventure. So these are the story hooks. Every one of these monsters has a further adventure, if not more than one. An Ogre Noble is drawing all the clans under its banner, causing a panic in the farmlands. That's one. An Ogre Noble has their clan excavating the forgotten tomb of an ogre warlord who reigned centuries ago. The PCs, that's another one. The PCs are tasked with mapping an unknown region, only to find it dominated by an Ogre Noble. I mean, so that's pretty cool. Not only do you get the monster, but you get some lore, you get some information, and you get like adventure hooks. How do you include these? Zidrol Crystalline Construct. Zidrol Dancer. What the hell are the Zidrol? Is that something they totally made up? They're like aliens or space humanoids. I like this. I like original monsters and original peoples and cultures. Yeah, so this is really cool. Great idea. I might have to do some Monster Mondays featuring some of the content from this, because I like, helping my friends out. And Andy and Mike over at Limitless are awesome dudes. They donated a bunch of stuff to the D&D club, which is really cool. And yeah, so the kids who are DMs at the D&D club have been able to use those things for free, which is pretty cool. And I buy all their stuff because I believe in supporting, small gaming designers and businesses. All right, let's see what y'all have to say. I'm a little parched. Let me just grab my Wendy's Coke Zero. Caitlin, any advice for bringing D&D to neurodiverse students? It's funny you asked, because yesterday I did a Zoom with a gentleman from Australia, maybe? I apologize for not remembering his country of origin, but he is doing an academic study, like a research project at a university level about role-playing games and social emotional learning. So do I have advice for bringing role-playing games to neurodiverse learners? Yes. So in our D&D club, we have kind of a starter document. It's a 2-page table etiquette and guidelines sort of thing. It's not, I don't want to call it rules, but they're kind of guidelines and suggestions for how to interact with people at a tabletop role-playing game. And essentially, you have to establish norms. You have to establish how your group's going to work. You have to convey the importance of empathy, like listening to each other, respecting each other, understanding that like the DM or GM also has a responsibility to kind of share the spotlight with everybody, but also recognize if somebody's not comfortable, try to be aware of their feelings in that circumstance. I think with people, if you're talking specifically about neurodivergent, I mean, there's many, that's a very broad category, right? I think with people with like ADD or ADHD, giving them helpful suggestions for how to manage themselves, but also letting the rest of the people at the table know respectfully that there may be instances where somebody needs to get up and walk around. Or they may have, fidgets at the table, and that's okay, to be respectful of that. With people on the spectrum, the autism spectrum or Asperger's, you may want to, have additional means of communicating so that you can communicate clearly with those people if, for example, they are having a hard time picking up social cues. And also providing guidelines, again, for the other kids who maybe aren't neurodivergent for understanding that the kids who are neurodivergent may need timeouts, they may need clarifications, or, some kids might just get impatient with neurodivergent kids. So again, emphasizing empathy, like understanding, explaining to them that, different things, people have different reactions to different things. Ultimately, no matter what norms you set up or what guidelines you set up, the goal is for everyone to be able to have fun playing games. And you don't want, nobody wants anybody to feel unsafe or threatened at a table. I also think that it's important, if the group has consensus, to adopt safety tools, they can do that. And I think sometimes those safety tools, like identifying lines and veils. So I didn't even understand this until it was explained to me, right? But like lines are like things that you must not have in the game. It's content that would be traumatic for a person to experience. So just privately, a player can share their lines, right? These are their big triggers. So if somebody's like, please, no explicit content in this game related to, violent sexual assault or rape or, pedophilia, whatever. If those are lines, then the GM respects that and does not put that kind of content into the game. Or it might be something that people might not normally think of as traumatic, like worms, no worms or maggots. And you might be like, well, that's silly, but like, to someone else, maybe it's not silly because they had a traumatic thing with worms or something. I don't know. So the lines are things that you don't cross, right? That's why it's a line. The veils are things that they would prefer to not include, But if you do include them, just know that they might need to like X card their way out of that and like just ask to move on from that. So there's a lot of potential things that can come up in a game, and not even things that serious. I mean, in our table rules and etiquette for the D&D club thing, we have like guidelines for, you know, personal hygiene. You know, maintaining your personal hygiene if you're going to be playing at a table. And a lot of the things in my table rules and etiquette document for the D&D club could really be shared with like literally anyone who goes to a gaming convention, right? You don't want to be locked in a table for 3 or 4 hours with somebody who has horrifically bad breath or who is just, you know, flaking off dandruff all over the table or coughing or picking their nose. Like or just body odor, right? Like those are all things that people don't want to have to deal with. So long story short, I think the approach with making your table more inclusive for neurodivergent people, or really for anyone, is just to establish norms, you know, and talk about what everybody's comfortable with, and be honest. But I will say something that I also told this researcher yesterday, that it is also important for people to self-advocate, okay? Nobody's a mind reader. If I'm GMing at a table and I've offered everyone an opportunity to share with me any concerns that they might have, or veils and lines, or safety tools, whatever, and they don't speak up or they don't let me know privately, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know everything that triggers every single person in the world. That's preposterous. So people also have to self-advocate, and that's important as a life and survival skill for those people, whether they're neurodivergent or they have other social and emotional needs, or, you know, whatever it is. So self-advocacy is important. You got to stick up for yourself and explain to people, you know, in a respectful manner, right? What are your issues, or what are your concerns? What questions do you have? You know, it comes back to a very simple thing. Treat other people as you'd like to be treated. So there you have that. That was very long. Caitlin, you're in Australia. Well. Yeah, I can't, I don't remember the guy's university, but this gentleman was looking for people who were in education and who were using role-playing games as a means of connecting with students. So he reached out to me. We had some back and forth stuff. I had to sign like a whole bunch of like waivers, and then we did this interview yesterday, and it was really cool. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah. Degrees of success is good, says Echo Thunderbolt. I have a player who has an ability that only prompts it if it would help them succeed to check, and it's been slightly annoying to DM. Yeah, degrees, I think degrees of success are good, you know? I mean, if you make a roll and it's over a 10, the person should still get something out of it, even if it's like one minor fact, you know? Over a 15, maybe they know more. Over a 20, they know a lot. If it's like over 25, they should be an encyclopedia of knowledge on that specific question or topic. That's just my ballpark thing. How do you like Blades in the Dark so far? Well, Martin, I don't like it. No. Here's the thing. I fucking love Blades in the Dark. In theory. But I have played so many sessions. I mean, even before we started the show, the Blackstones, me and those kids played like 7 or 8 sessions of that game. And I'm still grappling with the rules. I'm still trying to grasp how to run the game. I literally watched all seasons of Peaky Blinders. I literally, like, I can't tell you how I watched like all the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., all 2 of them. And then I watched the Sherlock Holmes, the Sherlock TV show, which even though it's not, you know, even though it's more modern, I wanted those vibes. I watched From Hell with Johnny Depp. I mean, I tried to watch like a whole bunch of different shows to influence me and inspire me. I love the game. I love the mechanics that really facilitate that specific game. But it's just so hard for me to unlearn the style of play that is D&D and most of the other role-playing games that I've ever played before. Blades in the Dark is still a challenge to me. But I like a challenge, so I'm not going to quit. I might have to evolve and kind of take a break and step back and come back to it, but we'll see. As for the Blackstones, while we're on that topic, as I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, the studio is going to be closed. There is literally no power in the building for the month of July. And most of the cast members on the Blackstones are seniors who graduated. So I don't know how many of them are going to stick around if they're going to be going to school locally. So I don't know if the Blackstones will have any more episodes. It's going to depend on availability of the cast members and that kind of stuff. So we'll see. That show might be a mini series, and I might start up another Blades in the Dark campaign with a different group, or I might add in new people and mix and match. So we shall see. We shall see. Caitlin, that's a similar situation. I'm an honors psych student starting a program for young adults with mild intellectual disability, but there's not. Yeah, there isn't really a lot of info out there, Caitlin. I will say that our D&D club is, our high school is huge. We have 4,000 students. And the D&D club is probably 1% of the school population. But I think it's actually very diverse. Like culturally, ethnically diverse. We have LGBTQ members. We have neurodivergent people. We have people with actual physical disabilities. And the magic of D&D and role-playing games is that all of those people, from every social structure as well. Like I have jocks, I have nerds, I have furries, I have comic geeks, I have art kids, I have theater kids, I have kids that don't really have a place to fit in. But when we're all there in the magic of D&D club, everybody has a place, which is awesome. That's the best feeling, is when I see all these different kids playing games together at tables, and that's a circumstance that would never happen outside of gaming. But it's kind of cool to see people coming together like that. Echo says, I really appreciate the point on self-advocacy. Yeah. I had a player who was very uncomfortable with part of the game. They didn't come to me about it until they almost wanted to drop the game. Yes. Yeah, it can be tricky, guys, because self-advocacy is in and of itself a challenge for a lot of people, specifically neurodivergent people. But even then, just for regular people, I think it can be a challenge because you don't want to be that person who's like complaining. You don't want to be that person who has issues, right? Who's going to be a handful or a problem. And a lot of people with mental health issues or neurodivergence or who identify in some other kind of minority fashion, it's a struggle to advocate for themselves because then they're singling themselves out, or they might feel like they're putting a target on their back. But this is life. This is real life, actually. And that's part of what we have to do in real life as we become adults. We have to learn to find our place in the world, to navigate social situations, whether that's in school or in the workplace or with friends and family. And remember that empathy includes forgiveness. People make mistakes. Every single one of you watching has made mistakes. I have made mistakes in my life. And you have to come to terms with that. You have to forgive yourself. And in many cases, you have to ask other people for forgiveness. I fuck up all the time, man. And I'm constantly apologizing to people for stuff. But I don't get, I'm trying. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be a better person. And I think if a person's genuine and they're trying to be a better person and they're trying to learn from their mistakes, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, if you've been screwed over by the same person, multiple times, then cut them loose, because that's another part of advocating for yourself and learning how to survive and navigate the world. I'm having a problem reading with my new glasses, so give me a second. Nope, too far away. There we go. Are there 6-shooters available in Blades in the Dark? Nicholas Holmes asks. So there aren't, but you could invent them, right? So like if you have a character who's I forgot the class basically, but like the Tinkerer, you can invent that kind of stuff. You can invent, guns and other technology. It's got to be a viable thing that could actually happen within the paradigm of Blades in the Dark, within that supernatural, dark, industrial fantasy sort of paradigm. But I mean, could you invent a 6-gun? Absolutely. Yeah, I would be open to that if I was running the game. Andrew Kato, what up, Bill? I finally catch one of your lives. Thank you, Andrew. Welcome. Cheers. This has no alcohol in it. It's just Coke Zero from Wendy's. I hope you are all having an excellent Friday. And it's good to have everybody here because, like I said, it's been a minute. It was a very busy June. I guess I could dial back. So in June, I taught my 3-week summer school class, and it was awesome, you guys. It was truly, I'm not using this word lightly, it was a blessing. It was a huge blessing to me. This past school year has been rough. It was very rough for me for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into great detail about. But this summer school class in June was awesome. The kids were enthusiastic. They worked hard. They collaborated together. They made great films. And they went from like here to there, like 0 to 60 in 3 weeks. And I teach summer school every summer. But I'm telling you, this past June, that group of kids was a renewal of my soul. Like, I'm excited to start next school year. I'm excited to rebuild my media program post-COVID. And those kids were such a huge blessing to me. So that was June. But then also June was me and Karafa having to pack up everything in the studio and in the lab because we knew that this construction project was going on and they were going to be cutting the power. So it was busy, no fooling. It was crazy busy. And like I said, this month I'm going to try to pivot. We're going to try to do some alternative stuff, a few online games, and maybe if we can, some live sessions. There won't be any D&D with high school students season 5 because those kids are all either on vacation or in like summer camps or summer work or summer school kind of programs. So that's on hold. But we might try to do Blades in the Dark if I can get those kids together, and we might try to do some other games. So we shall see. And then the first week of August is Gen Con. And we are once again the official video crew for the live streams from Gen Con. So we will be at Gen Con. I don't have specifics yet, but basically August 4th through 7th. So it's like Thursday through Sunday. We will be doing the live streams. And they are moving the live streams to the main convention center. So we will be in a big room in the convention center doing those live stream actual play shows. So Karafa will be there, I will be there, and a few of the other alumni staff members will be there, and then I have some students going to work crew. So it should be, I'm hoping it'll be fun. You know, I hope that all of our technical issues are good and that it's actually a fun thing. So, but it's still work. So long hours, like 15-hour days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, but I'm hoping it'll be fun. Any tips on how to find a D&D group? Yes. Look at your local game store or comic book store if you have those in your community. You can, if you want to find people online, Roll20 there's games all the time on Roll20. Sometimes there are Facebook groups that are looking for people, or Discord channels that are a great way to connect with people. I will say my disclaimer. Always be cautious when you are interacting with people who you don't know, whether it's in person or online. So, like, don't just say that you'll meet up with someone at some stranger's house. That's not a smart move. Like, get to know the people before you meet up with them at an unknown location. Make sure you're safe, make sure they're safe, all that stuff. Always take your precautions. But if you're looking for an easier transition, an online game, like joining a game that somebody is hosting on Roll20 is a great way to do that. Yeah. Caitlin, that is awesome. I am so glad that you are merging those interests and your life skills with gaming. I think gaming is a form of therapy, whether we recognize it or not. It's a great way to work through things. I think I did that when I was younger and I just didn't realize it. I think I used role-playing games as a teen to work through ideas or things that I was challenged with. And even later in life, I think maybe there's some value in that. But yeah, that's awesome. Yes. I'm really behind on the chat. Sorry, guys. Martin, yes, the leech class. I think you're right. Creative Fossey. Hey, what do you prefer? A group of young people or people that have been around for decades and know the game inside out? I myself played WFRP, and it can be tricky to make it fit for young people. That's a good question. So I like both, okay? When I have a chance to play with the gaming weekend guys, who is a group of college buddies, and we've gotten together once, maybe twice a year for about the past, I don't know, 14 or 15 years, with the exclusion of COVID. You know, that's fun. It's fun to play with old guys. I mean, I'm old. I would play with guys that are older than me. Like, someday at GaryCon, I want to play with, like, the guys who are in their 60s and 70s, you know, the OGs who were part of the core of who created the game. Like, but at the same time, I do like playing role-playing games with younger people too, and especially newbies, because there's a certain magic that happens when somebody is experiencing the game for the first time, right? And they're learning this game and they do a cool thing with their character, and you know that magic because that magic hit you, you know, and hooked you into role-playing games. So there's something cool about playing with people that are younger or just newer to the games as well. So I guess my answer is I would play games with any age, and frankly with anyone, because I think all those experiences can have huge potential to be fun. You know who I've never played role-playing games with? My wife, because she has no interest in playing role-playing games. It's odd sometimes to think about that. Nicholas Stanishek, what's up? There's nothing quite like a first Lamentations of the Flame Princess session with total strangers. Yeah, I'll bet. Although I will say that on the channel, when we played it, we had fun. The very first session was actually run by Roll Stats, Bill H., who's a Chicagoan, a true Chicagoan. And he ran Lonely Road for us on my channel, and I thought it was awesome. And then because of scheduling, he wasn't available, so I decided to give it a try. And I would say that, you know, because I wasn't running any of the published material from Lamentations, it kind of just was like D&D, but in a different system. Now, I eventually, and I mean eventually, got into more of the horror side and the weird fantasy side. But the Lamenters as a campaign was really not that different from D&D. So I will admit that I need to lean in more into the true Lamentations material. If I want to really have a group experience what that is. But that's personally for me, it's a challenge because I don't usually run other people's material. I've never liked running modules or other people's adventures because it doesn't feel intuitive to me, like to have to look back through notes and books and all that kind of stuff. Cindy says her husband doesn't have any interest in D&D either. Yeah, I mean, I've just gotten used to it. You know, we've been together for 26 years. God, I feel old saying that. But we have. I mean, dating for that long. So, and she's just never really had an interest in it. It's not for lack of me asking her if she wants to, but she doesn't, and I respect that. So it's cool. It's all good. Caitlin, sorry I missed you, but glad that you tuned in. Nick, let's see. If you want to play with OGs, you should really go to North Texas RPG Con. Yeah, dude, you know what? I've seen people post about, I was like, what the hell is NT RPG Con? North Texas RPG Con. And a lot of the people who I'm friends with and who I follow on Facebook posted stuff from there. That might be my jam. The problem for me is the timing, because if it's something that happens during the school year, for me to get to a location costs money, and I can't just take vacation in the middle of the school year. You know what I mean? Like I only get a certain amount of personal days. So, but yeah, I'm going to keep North Texas RPG Con on my radar, man, because it looks cool. And obviously, like I said, Gary Con for me is, you know, I work Gary Con, so I don't really have time to play in anything, but it's like one of my goals to be able to play in something at Gary Con with some of the OGs. I think Matt Mercer should bring Bill into a D&D game. I'd love to. I would never say no to that. But, you know, I think the Critical Role people are on such a level now that, like, there's no... I don't think they would bring in, you know, anybody less famous than they are. At this point, they're playing with people who are more famous, you know? So, yeah, that would be interesting. You know what I'd play the shit out of, though, is Undeadwood. I constantly, I'm like, when are they going to make season 2 of Undeadwood? I would love to play in that Western, dark horror, fantasy, Western genre game. That would be so cool. Yeah, OG Dweeb says Roll20 is a godsend, really. It's, you know, I play in games that people run on Roll20, but I have no idea how to run stuff on Roll20. And people have asked, like, hey, with your online games, why don't you do Roll20 and put a window on the screen? Because I literally don't know how to use Roll20, like from the DM side. I don't know how to load maps. I don't know how to set up the dice roller or how to manage character tokens. I have no fucking idea how that works. When I play with the Gaming Weekend guys, DM Dan does all that stuff. So I just tell him what I want to do and move my guy around on the screen. Like, that's it. But I know it's cool, and I know it's amazing, and if I had the patience and time to learn it, maybe someday I will. I don't know. Maybe. Abby Boyd. My wife died 23 years into our marriage and never had a desire to play either, but she loved the fact that we laughed most of the time. That's awesome. I mean, not awesome that she died, but that's awesome that she respected you guys and loved that you were having fun. And you know what? My wife doesn't mind, you know, when we do our gaming weekend and stuff. You know, I make sure to do all the chores around the house and get everything nice and clean and tip-top and in shape, so that when I go away for a 3-day weekend of gaming, my wife isn't, you know, stuck in a dump. But that's, you know, that's what I do. Undeadwood was a great series. Yeah, it was. If you haven't seen it, it's the Critical Role people, but with a couple special guests. And it's not run by Matt Mercer. He's actually a player in it. It's run by Brian W. Foster, who does a kick-ass job as the GM. And it's just a cool miniseries. It's not like a lifelong commitment like trying to watch all of Critical Role. But I love it because the production value as well. Like they built a set and propped it out and had like awesome costumes. I mean, they really they went in all in on the Deadwood vibes. It's absolutely worth watching. Let's see. Nick says, I actually play a 5e Roll20 game that started at the beginning of the pandemic. 5e is not my jam, but these guys have become good friends and we have a lot of fun. Yeah. You know what? I mean, here's the thing, man. I started playing AD&D. I played 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 3.5, 4th edition, 5th edition, Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder 2, Palladium Fantasy. I mean, I can't even remember all the different fantasy role-playing games, let alone other genres. But I think you can have fun playing any game if you're with a group of people who are there to do the same thing as you. You know what I mean? If you find your tribe, it doesn't really matter what version of a game you're playing, you're going to have a good time. And I mean, that's the best part about it, you know? I don't think 5e is perfect by any stretch. But I know that there's a reason why it's become the heavy-hitting bestseller for Wizards of the Coast that it has, because it's a very streamlined and easy to learn game for new players, and people get into it and they love it. I mean, that's why we're in this renaissance, for better or worse. And I know, you know, people have issues with Wizards of the Coast as a company, and with D&D 5e and with the community. You know, no one's ever going to be perfect. No game's ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be people who annoy you on all sides of the equation, right? But play your games, man. Play your games and have a good time. That's my philosophy. And if you can't find a group, don't give up. Keep looking. Seriously, you will find your tribe, but don't give up. Because I had a 2-year dry spell back in the, I don't know, it was around the time of like 3.5, but before 4th edition. And like I couldn't find anybody to play with. All my old gaming guys were kind of busy, and a lot of them were like getting married or, you know, had started careers and stuff. And like I couldn't, you know, it was, I thought I'd never be able to play role-playing games again. But I'm glad I didn't like just throw in the towel and sell all my books. You know, I eventually reconnected with some people, and I met some new people, and now with online stuff, I mean, there are so many opportunities to connect with people. So if you can't find a group, don't give up. Keep looking. You'll find your tribe. Felipe Bastos. I'm binge watching your D&D with high school students. I'm on the beginning season 2, episode 2 now. Kids are a little chaotic at this one. Yeah, they are. I will say that every season has a little turbulence. Every season has some interpersonal cast issues. Some seasons more than other. There's a lot of behind the scenes drama that you don't see on the show, but affects the show and how people interact with each other. And a couple seasons where people left the show and were replaced by someone else. So yeah, because it's a high school, because it's high school, you know, so all the same drama that you have with high school, with people dating each other and then breaking up, or people just like having, you know, little spats with other people and disagreements, and, you know, all that stuff happens. That's how it is. What's up, Flex? Good to see you. Glad you tuned in. Man, the whole cast of the Lamenters is on right now, almost. I don't see Mike, but almost everybody else is here. What got me into RPGs was the fighting fantasy books in the library at my school when I was a teenager. Yep. Yeah. Those were some good games. And some of those early games were very complex because they were made by guys who came from a historical wargaming background where accuracy mattered, realism mattered. And to make things realistic, they had a lot of math involved, you know? I remember watching my older brother and his friends play Squad Leader, which was a mind-bogglingly complex war game with maps that you would lay out and little square cardboard tokens representing your different armies, and there were measurements and line of sight, and then you had, you know, different dice pools to roll things to resolve combats. I mean, it was a very complex game, but I was fascinated with it. Did I ever learn to play it myself? No. Hey, Bren B, what's up? If there are no role-playing groups or clubs locally, maybe look for Warhammer wargaming groups. There's usually a big crossover. Yeah, good tip. Good tip. Good tip indeed. Well, for those of you just joining, here's what we did today. I'm going to recap this like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Today, we looked at what Bill got when he went to Michigan and stopped by 2 local game shops in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. We got some minis. Some of them are painted and might be modified. Some of them aren't painted because they're bards, and I'm going to paint them, and they're going to look really cool. Kind of looks like Jake and Luke, the Palabard brothers. And then, Bill also picked up some interesting art, and because he was walking by and saw this cool postcard, and it's Cthulhu on the postcard, which is really cool. And this postcard and the art made by it are by Corinne Roberts. I don't know if it's Corinne or Corrine. I'm thinking it's Corinne. CorinneRoberts.com. And she had some other really cool things, but, you know, I had a spending limit, so I just picked this up. But really cool art. And then, well, I picked up the second book for Monster of the Week, the Tome of Mysteries, which expands more hunter options and new powers and other cool things for me to learn about so that I can eventually play this game. And, well, run this game for other people, but play it, yes. And then Bill saw this ultra-violent post-apocalyptic fantasy game called Mork Borg, which he'd seen all over the interwebs. And it seems to be kind of a cool thing. So there's another thing that I have to read and learn how to play. But this I backed on Kickstarter. This is Limitless Adventures, Limitless Monsters, Volume 2. And it's a cool book with over 100 new monsters, spells and magic items, pre-rolled treasure, and further adventure story hooks. So each one of the monsters in here has additional story hooks to give you ideas about how to include them in an adventure or an encounter, or how to make an adventure that includes these. So overall, it's been a pretty good summer so far. Yeah, that's Scooter. He's just barking at whatever's walking by outside. Yeah. Bill, are you thinking about bringing the Lamenters back on? Good question, Flex. The answer to that is maybe. Maybe. I have ideas, but like with many things, it comes down to time. So I am in a rotation right now, so I'm going to try to rotate some other things into place. Some of which has to do with channel and shows, and some of which is not necessarily channel and shows, but is for patrons on Patreon. So I'm kind of juggling all those different things. Not to mention my own game, which is going well. I spent 4 hours today researching firearms. 4 hours of my life on the computer researching firearms for my game, to be clear. Nick wants us to play Lamentations again. All right. Yes, we will play Lamentations again, but not not until the fall, because there's other things that are on the burners that are gonna take precedence for July and August. But in theory, sometime after Labor Day, sometime in September, we might be going into season 2 of the Lamenters. We shall see. Well, that's it, everybody. It's 4:30 my time, which means my wife's going to be home soon, and I need to clean up, and we're going to have leftovers because I'm too tired to make anything new, and it's Friday, so it's almost happy hour. So I wish all of you an awesome weekend. And some of you, I hope to see virtually over Zoom soon in gaming things, but shh, don't say anything. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome connecting with you guys. I'm glad we were able to do this. Like I said, I don't have a studio right now for the next more or less 3 weeks to a month. Carafa and I are pivoting and trying to make alternatives to do stuff, so I don't know when you will see me on camera next, because it might be a minute. But we are working on stuff, and there will be stuff, new stuff, and things that return. So thank you guys, as always, for your support, for liking, subscribing, for supporting me. To all my patrons, thank you guys tremendously, because literally I would not be able to rationalize doing all the stuff that I do if it wasn't for the support of my patrons on Patreon. And if you're not a supporter on Patreon, you know you can jump right on that. It's cheaper than Netflix, and it goes to a good cause, which is the cause of spreading the awesomeness of role-playing games throughout the world. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. Yeah, hit that like button, subscribe, all that stuff. I hope y'all have a great weekend. Peace out. Bye.